the kingdom, our team, the organization, brilliant as a whole. We are duplicating quickly and by leaps and bounds. Glory to God. We've had some of our team members approach and say, hey, these are some of the things I'm coming up against, and just really not quite sure how to navigate that. I did take some of these things to Ray, and he had such great feedback that I asked him to just come and share directly, because it's just so impactful when you hear how Ray delivers some of these things. I felt I would be doing a disservice if I were that middleman. So thank you for being here with us.
Sure.
And so this is really your time.
Yeah.
Not the time to be shy and to hide and to, I really want you to bring forth what's going on. What are some of the objections that you're getting so that we can help sharpen you and mold you into the kingdom builder that we are and that we are becoming. And so you can have that feedback directly from Ray.
Yeah. And and I'll just start just like with kind of a basis, kind of thing. And then I'm happy to whatever objections or questions. So, I think that there's a lot of people that they prospect as if they're entering either an argument or they're defending their faith. And so if you're prospecting like it's an argument, then you want to win the argument, right? And so if someone, says you're prospering from the word of God, you want to win that argument and you want to overcome it and get them to see it the way you see it and what's wrong with you, and turn them around. And that's a really unhealthy way to do this business. Um, there's, so some of you may know I think probably many of you probably know my story of, and I talk about it in the Go for No for network marketing, right? So if it comes down to, so think about this, I became the number one income earner, okay? Made millions of dollars from losing the argument 20 times a day. Just think about that for a second, right? Because if you think about prospecting like it's an argument that you must win, well, I lost that argument 20 times a day, every single day for 6 months straight. And month 7, I became the number one income earner. Okay. Because I went for no. Because I know that, I can't control yeses. There are some days where God's favor is just all over it and just doors are just opening. Everyone's saying yes. Everyone's doing the 5-day trial. Everyone's doing that. And then there are some days none of that happens. And so it's either, a result and a gift or a lesson. Now, lessons last longer. So lessons last longer than gifts or results, but we never want the lesson, right? We want the result, right? We want the yes. And so I would just encourage you. I mean, just today I had someone, made a reference of, well, you making money from the word of God. I mean, first of all, Graham isn't God. Okay, I didn't record, God in my sleep, and now I'm selling the recordings. This is Graham's life work, 50 years all over the world, and if you don't know, like if you haven't dug into the content, you don't know his stories. But one of my favorite stories, he's in a Middle Eastern area. He's surrounded by 12 guys. He's beaten and left for dead in the streets. His team thought he was dead. So they went back to camp and started packing up. 2 days later, he wakes up on the street naked. He'd been peed on. Just bloody, all out of it. His head's ringing. Goes back to the camp and says, what are you guys doing? They're like, we're out of here. He goes, we still got work to do. Goes back to the same corner, preaches the gospel. And some of the guys that had beaten him were so blown away that he came back that they came to Christ. That's who Graham is. And so you're talking about a man's work we're not selling Bibles, although people buy Bibles every single day, right? And so, but your mission is not to win the argument. And someone saying that they don't think this is the way to do it or the ethical way to do it or any of that kind of stuff is not an attack on your faith. You don't have to defend it. And so today, a guy said, um, hey, you prosper for the word of God. And I'm just like, hey, it's not a fit for everyone. The content has changed my life, but hey, I'm rooting for you, buddy. Thanks, man. That was my response. My response was, well, if you look in Deuteronomy 8:17 and then reference Luke 16:9 and then I don't get into these arguments. They take too long. If someone is set in their ways, I'm biblically, if you look at Romans 14 and 15, Romans 14 and 15, they do a good job of telling you how you should handle someone who has differences in faith. And what it says is that you should love them. You should not try to correct them. If someone says that if their faith believes that they can't eat a certain thing or they can't do a certain thing on a certain day, and this is Romans 14, don't take my word for it, right? Then you're to, honor that and just like, oh yeah, yeah, buddy. If someone thinks they can't eat a certain thing, then don't eat that thing in front of them. That would honor them, right? Even though that's not your faith, you believe it's fine for you to do that. That's Romans 14 and 15. And so when someone, says prospering for the word of God, or you're not supposed to be making money from the gospel, I did like what I forget who said this, but I thought it was really smart. She said, she goes, well, the gospel is free, but the pipeline costs money for us to get the gospel out. And I'm honored to fund the pipeline because that's really what we're doing, right? What we're doing, and it's not. You guys now know that it's not just the app, which is his proprietary information. Should he be able to sell that? Of course, it's his life work. And they've spent a lot of money to put that app together, to categorize it. There's overviews of all 600 videos in that app have overviews, takeaways, quotes. Like they've spent a lot of time and money on that thing. They're not just snapping pictures of the Bible and selling it, although people do sell Bibles. And so I would don't see prospecting as what it should be, which is opportunity and possibility. I'm seeing who's open. And when they reveal to me that they're not, I'm like, cool, no problem. I don't take it as an attack on my integrity. I don't take it as an attack on my identity or that we're doing something evil or bad, or how could what we're doing possibly be evil or bad when I hear so many breakthroughs? A guy that I've known since for a really long time sent me that note of how he had been suicidal on medication, and now he's no longer having his anxiety attacks because of the app. How can that be evil? How can that be? How dare we do that stuff? And so I think that's the overarching thing to keep in mind is we're not fighting arguments. We're not trying to convince. We're seeing who's open. If you're open, great. If not, no big deal. And that's how I treat people. I've studied so many sales courses, more than most people. And at the end of the day, I just don't try to convince. I don't twist their arm. I don't try to, if they're really negative, I don't try to turn them around. I just keep showing up as light as possible, as loving as possible, and I don't judge them. If they judge me, then I just initiate 1 Peter 3:9, which is don't trade evil for evil, insult for insult, but instead bless so that you can have a blessing. And so if they're nasty to me, then I'm just saying, okay, not a fit for you. Okay. And then when I either get off the phone with them or get away from the email, I just say, Father, thank you for blessing them. Father, thank you for drawing them closer to you. Because we're not to operate that way as Christians. So if someone came to me with something I really thought was unethical or whatever, I might ask a few questions, but I can't accuse. I'm not allowed to do that. That's not biblical. I'm not allowed to say, hey, this thing's really terrible. A lot of Christians are very loose with that. And so that's kind of first of all. Second of all, I'm going to give you three layers and then we'll get into specifics. Second of all, what I've noticed is that when when God really wants you to overcome something, he turns up the volume. And so I'll give you, my example. So um, my wife and I, I have, many of you know my wife. She's amazing, beautiful, smart, motivated. Like, I just, God just blessed me in every way, right? And we had been married for 10 years. And it's it's interesting how, because it's got to be God. Before Jess, I was like a jealous guy. I was a jealous guy of not necessarily other people, but I had been betrayed. A girl that I absolutely was in love with when I was 18, slept with two of my friends, completely broke my heart. I tried killing myself. And so I carried that wound with me through all my relationships, except Jess. Very strange. And so I just never had any jealous episodes with my wife, and we've been married for 10 years. But in our 10-year anniversary, I bought ballroom dance lessons, and so we start, going there, and I'm when I first start, I'm just terrible, and it's just, just not good. And she, I had a dance partner because, when you guys don't know what you're doing, you need one person, one woman to help the guy that doesn't know what he's doing, and one guy to help the woman that doesn't know what she's doing. But she was really, really good, and she had this dance partner, and he was really, really good, and so they were just really good together. And then when I would dance with her, it just looked terrible. And so I became so jealous, so jealous. Like I just it was like I couldn't get it out of my mind. It just like ruled me. It was very weird. 10 years I'd never had this stuff. And then all of a sudden I'm just like, I'm having nightmares of her cheating on me. I'm wondering where she is. Like all of a sudden I become this guy I hadn't been for 10 years. And looking back, what I believe is there was still some kind of seeds in me of jealousy, even though they hadn't shown up. And God ramped up the volume to ramp up the volume to weed them out of me. And so, now, I mean, she's a realtor here in Naples. She's with male realtors, very wealthy, influential, young, handsome, whatever. She's with male realtors all day, every day. And I just don't have 1 ounce of concern because I know how much she loves me. And that, by the way, is how you increase your faith, is you know how much God loves you. See, people pray for, just give me more faith, Lord, give me more faith, Lord, give me more faith. Well, faith is actually a result of you knowing how much he loves you. Because if you know how much he loves you, then he's got you. So I don't say, Lord, give me faith about my wife. No, he helped me realize how much she loves me. And so now I have faith and I'm not worried about her any day of the week. She's, all kinds of male realtors and clients and stuff like that. I don't know where she is right now. I have no idea ever. But I'm not jealous. And so God ramped it up to weed it out of me. And so I do believe that some of you, this is your, um, this is your season that you've been waiting for. Some of you, I think, have been in a lot of different companies or opportunities and things. And I think what God is doing is He's taking any weakness you may have and ramping it up so that you can get it out of you. So you can finally gain posture, so you can finally gain confidence, and you can walk the way He's wanting you to walk. And so, with that being said, if there is an objection that you are terrified of, or you're like, I hope they don't say this, I hope they don't say this, that's the one you're going to get over and over. You're literally going to get it nonstop. And I've noticed this not just recently, I've noticed it my whole career because I would have people come to me and they'd say, every single person I talk to tells me this. And I'd be like, wow, that's so interesting because I've talked to way more people than you have, and I've never heard that. That's so interesting. But I would hear like these very specific objections that someone hears every time they talk to someone. Yet I'd talked to 10,000 people, had never even heard it. And so it's interesting. And so the main, if I was to boil down Graham's content to two main points, right? I mean, all the content I've been through is that in every situation, start in God's heart, not in your own head, not in your own heart, not in your feelings or emotions, but start in God's heart. And once you're there, know that his nature is to always grow you. That's two primary points that Graham makes in all of his content. And so if I take that into consideration, anything that I get that's a repeat, that has to be where he's trying to get my attention. Where you're trying to get my attention. So um for the last few weeks I've had this major congestion and where I can like blow my nose like every 2 seconds, right? And I pray about it. Lord, should I take Claritin? Should I take this? Should I take that? No, 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 no. Okay, all right. And so I'm just blowing my nose all day. And my wife got referred to a new type of chiropractor, and this chiropractor, very interesting. Like usually they X-ray you, then they crack some stuff, and all that. And this guy works in reflexology, and he's just really amazing. We took our kids in there, and I was just blown away. He's like, "See how your son does this with his back? Like that's going to make him hard to catch a ball." And I'm like, wow, like he's just really, really insightful. And I prayed, I'm like, Lord, should I come to this guy? Yeah. And so I go to him and I'm telling him, he goes, you got any problems? I'm like, man, I've lost a ton of weight. I'm feeling great. I do have this congestion thing. And, he does some things on me and he's like, it's your liver. I'm like, it's my liver. He goes, yeah, it's your liver. And he said, do you toss and turn at night? I'm like, oh yeah. Like literally for years, I'm not able to get to sleep unless I go on my back and I like hug, or my stomach, unless I lay on my stomach, which isn't supposed to be good for you, lay on my stomach and hug my pillow. And he says, yeah, that's your liver. Your liver's, got some stuff going on. And so he did some stuff here. He gave me a supplement. I prayed about it, got that he was, right. And the last 2 nights, I've slept on my back for the first time in years. Years. Woke up refreshed, woke up, didn't toss and turn, all this stuff. God, and my congestion's way down. I still have a little bit, but way, way down. And so God allowed that congestion to get my attention so that I was searching for an answer. So when you're getting the same objection over and over and over and over and over, that's God saying, okay, this time she'll get it. Okay, this time she'll overcome it. Okay, and Graham says, which I believe, with God you can't fail a test. We like to beat ourselves up like we did, but with God you can't fail a test. You just get an unlimited amount of tries to pass. And so it could be that God's trying to grow you and not being a people pleaser. The Apostle Paul says, I can't be a people pleaser and a servant of Christ. It could be that he's wanting you to have more freedom in your business. It was about 6 or 7 months ago. I prayed to God and I got this question from Dion and Graham. And the question is, Lord, what do you want to create for me in my business? And when I prayed that and I asked that question, I got freedom. Now, at the time, I didn't feel free, to be honest, because I had a few clients that were pretty demanding. I had a few, companies that were kind of demanding. I didn't feel appreciated in a couple different scenarios. Had some people working with me that I just knew weren't the right fit. And I look now, I absolutely love every single minute of my day. Today, let me just look. So today, 1, 2, 3, 4, and I got 5 more to go brought to Christ today. I, dude, what I do each day now is amazing. I love what I do. And oh, by the way that I make money is to help people draw closer to God through Graham's content. Like pinch me. That's amazing. Like how could I possibly orchestrate a better a better living, a better career? I can't. I just can't, but he can. And so I would just encourage you, one, it's not an argument. You're not trying to win an argument with a prospect. I don't mind. Hear me on this. I don't mind at all fast disqualification. Don't mind it. If someone's like, you're just profiting on, I'm just like, hey, cool, not a fit for you. I get it. Hey, wish you the very best. God bless you. Appreciate you. I'm not defending. I'm not convincing. I'm not persuading. I'm not sending them article after article or verse after verse. Believe me, you can't outverse somebody that is dedicated to making you wrong because you can mistranslate scripture so easily. And that's some people's mission. It's just their mission to just solidify their argument. I'm not here to argue. I like freedom in my business. So as soon as I know someone's not fit, cool. Hey, no problem. Appreciate you, my friend. God bless you. That's it. Number two, if you have a pattern of repeating things, you got to ask. And this was asked on the day of Pentecost. Lord, what are you doing, and what am I to do? That's the two questions. What are you doing? What am I to do? So Lord, I keep getting this same objection, Lord. What are you trying to tell me here? What am I? Because he's allowing that pattern. And I will tell you the two places, this is kind of the third and final thing, and then we'll get to your questions. The two places that the enemy wants to strike, and you have to understand, you can read Luke 22:31-32. This is where Jesus says to Peter, he says, Satan has asked to sift you like wheat, but I've prayed for you, and when your faith returns, strengthen your brethren. The next verses is Peter denying Christ. So we now know, and that's only in the book of Luke. None of the other gospels say this. So, Peter denies Christ in all the gospels, but in Luke specifically, we learn where it's revealed that Peter was under the influence of the devil. Okay. Now, but listen to this. Satan has asked. So God had to give him permission, just like Job. God had to give him permission. So any enemy attacks that you have, God allowed. Why? Why would he do that to me? That's not very nice. Because he needs you stronger for the territory he's calling you into. He needs you stronger. He needs you bulletproof. He needs you unmessable. He needs you fireproof. He needs you to be stronger for the legion of people he's calling you to lead. He needs you stronger for the territory he's moving you into. And so, but the two places that the enemy loves to attack, identity and your integrity. To make you think, man, maybe this is a bad thing. Maybe we shouldn't be charging for this. Like, oh man. I want you to just understand something. We can say something very weird in the network marketing space. We had 6,000 paying members in 72 countries before we had an opportunity. Now, some companies, if there's no opportunity, they ain't got anybody. No one's buying this stuff. Like, we had 6,000 before we had an opportunity. There was no opportunity. They bought in because the content was that good. And oh, by the way, it didn't include events. They still paid for events back then. Now we actually give them a free ticket. We give them a free ticket to Brilliance, to Limitless Life with God. And we're actually going to roll out we're going to be rolling out some different 3-day challenges and stuff like that too. It'll be all free for members. And so they didn't have, there's different things that they just didn't have, but they were still paying members. And so identity and integrity. And you got to know, as soon as you feel that identity attack or integrity attack, that's not from God. It isn't. And so he wants you stronger. He allowed that to make you stronger for where he's calling you. And so I just wanted to kind of go over that first, because I think that'll help you, even if whether you're getting objections or not. And then I'm happy to answer questions or talk about how I might respond to specific objections.
Thank you so much for that. One of the things that I have learned from Ray throughout the years is that we do learn in reflection, not in the moment, right? You guys have all heard that hindsight is 2020, if you will. So I put in the chat just a reflection moment. Where are these patterns showing up for you? And when I had gone to Ray with some of the objections that our ambassadors are receiving, what I said to him was, I want to coach, I want to support, and I'm not getting any of these objections. And it's just like what he was saying. I've kind of God has pruned that through, my life, and I'm just on a different path right now. So this is a very safe space. I hope you guys know that. And I want you to raise your hand and really take advantage of what we have here. So, Lynn, your hand went up first. Let me spotlight
Hey,
you.
what's up, Lynn? Hey,
Hi. Oh, am I on mute? Okay. Hey, thank you for this
yeah,
opportunity again. And well, I'm following you every day. I'm listening to what you say. I am still in a crossroads and being attacked these last 6 weeks over my identity. I'm gonna cry.
yeah,
Um, where should I start in the app for me personally to get over this funk I've been experiencing?
yeah.
And then that way I can share that with the next person because it's not just me. Our whole team is being berated right now because of what's going on in our industry with the closings and the new launches and all this malarkey.
Mhm,
So there's a lot of doubt, confusion, temptation, even for shiny pennies.
mhm.
And it's just beating me up and I'm letting it. So I need to get past all this. And I know
Yeah,
that this app has the answers for me. I just, with 600 opportunities, I don't know where to start.
yeah. So on a daily basis, I've suggested the art of thinking brilliantly, and all the content, like every piece of content I've pulled so far. So I'm going like one at a time. And so if I had to guess, I probably have another 3 weeks of content from the art of thinking brilliantly just by itself. That's one speech.
Okay.
And so from last Monday, or actually even prior to that, I've been ILTing our Thinking Brilliantly for the last 2 weeks. But even prior to that, that's the one that I was suggesting, to people. And so you log in, you go to conferences, it's the top result, Art of Thinking Brilliantly. And and so um, and he will, if we're allowing our circumstances to push us around, he'll ramp it up. God will absolutely ramp it up to get you out of that. Because what would be better? Okay, would it be better for attacks to intensify over a short period of time to finally wake us up that we don't need to be subject to any of it, or that it kind of mellows a little bit, we never get better at it, and it just lasts the rest of our life? Well, that's where most people go. They just, the rest of their life, they're just subject to whatever people are saying or whatever, the opinions of others. They're just bounced around like a little bumper car. And so he'll ramp that thing up and say, okay, it's time to get past this. Like, come on, let me ramp it up. And, for me, um, I had I mean, the first wave happened in probably like 2020, where one day just all of a sudden I had, and Kim knows the story, but one day all of a sudden I had like multiple women that were in my hemisphere that just all of a sudden hated me and absolutely hated my guts and were doing bash videos against me, and were just like, I'm like, what the hell's going on? I mean, it was like a light switch. It was like night, like one day we're friends and yay, we had them on stage. And the next day, like they literally hate my guts. And I'm like, man, what the hell is going on? Like it was crazy. And I mean, doing like voodoo stuff against me and curses and like really intense stuff. And so like that got really ramped up, and that part of that is what sent me into meditation, and like I got to discover something to get out of this, man. And I've experienced a few episodes of that since, but the difference between the first round and any round since is I just don't I'm just no longer affected by that. I know that he knows my heart and I know his heart. And so when someone's character against me is revealed, I literally pray for them. That's it. That's my retaliation. And so um he'll he'll ramp it up. He'll ramp it up to weed it out of you. And I think to me, I have not been through everything, that's for sure. But to me, the art of thinking brilliantly is the best. It's just so good to just tackle this head on. It's so specific, it's so direct. That would be my advice.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Kyle.
What's
Dude.
yeah, so I was like, I was just thinking. So I had a little objection was the whole "are you selling God" thing or whatever, but I'm just like, I got over that pretty quick at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then second one I messaged you about the other day, I'm over it for the most
Because
part.
some people they ignore all the edification of the Lord, but they locate any possible condemnation, and that's what they become addicted to. And so those that have that type of spirit of religion, um, I mean that first of all, that's demonic. And so, my job is not to argue with that demonic way of thinking. And so I just bless them. Hey, appreciate you. I've had several people say that kind of stuff, and I'm not here to convince them, persuade them, turn them around. But they are a valuable soul. And so I love them. I pray for and bless them. Thank God for blessing them and wish them the best. And what I can do is continue to show up with love and light, continue to share testimonials, and they may watch from the sidelines, or they may not watch at all. I'm not addicted to that. And so, yeah.
Yeah, so there's that one, and yeah, no, so I definitely got that part down. One other two things. So one thing I've noticed, just like I guess not really wording it like I've been praying. I talked to Kim about this. Like well, the Christian mentorship, that sounds really good, but something that like explains this without not sending the video, but like actually like a little phrase or whatever, so people to understand that this ain't a Bible app. You know what I mean? Like people always think it's just like reading the Bible. Like why would we pay to read the Bible before even seeing a video? But so I mean, I like the Christian mentorship program, but I personally have changed it a little bit from not just Christian mentorship program. It's more like Christian based because it's actually anybody that loves Jesus. It's not, because I have people coming in that they're Jewish and stuff like that, like just different type of religious beliefs, but So there's that, and then my second thing was I told you about a couple days ago was like the prosperity gospel thing. I had a couple people say that, like, "Oh,
Yeah.
Kyle, you haven't read the whole Bible, so this ain't biblical, and watch out, and there's snakes in sheep's clothing, and whatever, that stuff."
Yeah. 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 It's funny because, it's easy to accuse anyone that talks anything about money to prosperity gospel, right? And prosperity gospel is, hey, if you're really good, God will bless you with prosperity. And that's not accurate, but it's also not accurate for it to be a poverty gospel, that there's virtue in your poverty. But the funny thing about attacking Graham and calling him prosperity gospel, he doesn't talk about money. He doesn't know one thing about business. He doesn't talk about money literally ever. And so he's just the wrong guy to accuse of prosperity gospel. He just doesn't talk about money. You don't ever hear him talk about it. He doesn't. And he talks about the heart of the Father. He talks about God's nature. He talks about how we're to walk in the new creation, but he just doesn't. I mean, I feel like at some point, I'm gonna put some money stuff in the app because there is none. There's
Yeah.
nothing about money in the app, and I don't think that's the best decision either. But I want to you today this morning. One of my good friends, some of you may know him, Gary Martell. I don't know if you know him or not, but he's a brother in Christ, amazing guy. He joined and he's building this up, and he is really like it's I don't give this compliment very often. He's really good at wordsmithing. Like I feel like I'm pretty good at wording things. He's really good, and sometimes he'll just come up with really unique ways of saying it. So I'm going to read this to you. Good blessed morning, Ray. It was revealed early in prayer and presence that in response to the question, what is the brilliant movement? For me, it's a Christian movement ministry, a movement toward a deeper understanding of a life immersed in Christ. Whose life, they ask? My life, your life, and the lives of those he calls me to share it with. Why would I want to be part of this? So that times of refreshing may come from the presence of the Lord, and to discover what that refreshing for their life might look like. And so he goes on for a little bit, but he likes the Christian movement ministry. And if you think about it, I mean, that's a pretty cool, way to say it too. And, I would just, whether you want to say, Bible-based or Christian-based or whatever, at the end of the day, what you want to get away from is, so like when people ask me, hey, tell me more about your deal, I now have updated it. I send them the other night's presentation, which I know the full presentation was 42 minutes, but let me see. And I'll drop the link on here.
Yeah,
And you guys can,
how I've been looking at it lately is I'm like, I give my home church
yeah.
more
Oops.
than
Jesus said, I must.
Sorry.
no, I was saying I give my home church more than $50 a month. I'm like, so to me it's like,
Yeah, I wouldn't go about it like that, right? Because this isn't tithing, like I wouldn't try to classify it like that. Um, you know, one is, going to a church, they're going to hopefully, put it to good use. So I don't see this as tithing. I see it as I'm part of a movement and I'm helping fund the pipeline to grow me and to grow anyone else we're going to be able to reach. That's kind of how I look at it. But I put the YouTube. So when people ask me, okay, tell me more about it, I say, hey, I got a video that does a good job. I can send it over to you if you want. And I'll send them this 42-minute video. Now, I know some of you do not have the belief level that anyone on the planet would ever watch a 42-minute video. I send this all the time. And before this, by the way, it was an hour. And so now it's a little bit shorter. So I send this one. But you guys can download that. You can put it anywhere you want. You can put it on your own YouTube. You can use anything that I ever do. Seriously. Like, I'm doing my number one thing, help ambassadors grow. And so you can use anything I ever do, put your own name on it, use AI to change my face. I don't care. I don't care what you do with anything I ever do around this. If it helps you, go do it, go make it happen. Take the audio out, like you don't have to show my face or name. I don't care about any of that stuff. I just care about helping you guys. So I'm just relentlessly doing that. And so I just, what you want to get out of, which is what I started with, you don't want to get in the explaining game. And I
yeah,
never did this in any of my companies. There is no company I was ever a part of where I was doing the pitch or I was trying to explain and close. I always relied on a tool, always. Why? Because I can explain things pretty well. I'm assuming they can't.
yep,
But if I show them a tool, they can use that tool too. And, and I'm sure as I do this, 30, 40 more times, I'm sure I'll be able to whittle it down, to be lesser or come up with, more succinct, pitches and things like that. But for now, that's what I'm using at least.
Sweet. No, I like it.
Does that
I'll use
help?
that, man. Yeah, that 42-minute video is good. I've had only a couple people request, like, is there like a video that maybe gives a couple little sneak peeks of what
Well,
is
there's the
inside of?
12-minute comp plan overview.
Yeah, I love that one.
And so, feel free to use that. There is one discrepancy on that. I missed the math in month 2, but I undersold it, so I'm okay with that. I don't like overselling it. And so if I oversold it, I would get rid of the video. But I undersold it. I said your pay would be like 3,000 a month. It's actually 5,500. And so, you can still use that.
Yeah, no, that's good. So and then for me personally, like, I think that was stopping like the business side, some of this whole not selling, like, I mean, not selling God, but like, why would I pay for that? It's free, you know? And then so I
It's
think,
not, I mean, it's not free
well,
because it's his proprietary,
yeah, no, I know
stuff.
that, but I'm saying they're
Yeah.
like, I can have a relationship with God for free. I'm like, you know. But anyway, so I
Great.
got over
And
that.
you should.
You should. But you always want to get better because there's some people that think that they're already there. I'm like, I mean, I don't think I'll ever be there, so I'll just keep on going. But yeah, I think that stopped me a little bit, like mentally, like talking about it's really only a $10 a year for a business. Like, I think that's a huge thing that we're not talking about because it's kind of like some like, oh, we shouldn't be talking about that part of it. But I mean, you
My
can
my
do
only
it.
my only thought on there is, like I talked to a really large podcaster. They're getting like 1 million downloads a month, and he's a Christian podcaster. And I told him, he's like, yeah, it's like $10 for the year, right? I'm like, well, we highly suggest that people become members and go through the content. With your following, you could certainly just drop a link and you'd have plenty of people join, like that's a fact. And so, but if someone doesn't have influence, like if they're like, I only have $10, the chances of someone like that growing, pretty unlikely,
Mm,
you know. And so that's why I don't like pound that. Um, because if they're not growing in the content, how exactly are they promoting it? But if they have a following of people that would love that content, then okay, sure, we still suggest being a member so that you get to grow from it. But it's not a requirement. We didn't want to make it a requirement.
yeah, because there's always those people on the internet that jump into every single thing. They have followings. They just get a bunch of people to do things, and I'm
Yeah,
like,
there are those people. Yeah.
there are those people, and you're still out of that bunch of people. They're going to help a lot of people. Without maybe they didn't even pay attention to the content, but they're going to help a lot of people. And I know they'd be like, "Oh, $10 business. I'll go share this 2 days and sign 100 people or whatever." So
You can. Like to me, it's this is why I spend so much time sharing the content, because
yeah,
you know, whether someone wants to promote it or not, I want to help improve their life, and the content
mhm,
will. I don't think anyone can spend any time about in this content and not be changed. When I went to my buddy, Pastor Mark, I'm like, hey man, I'm doing this new business. I actually partnered with Graham Cook. I'm like, do you know Graham? He goes, Graham Cook, he changed my life 14 years ago. I'm like, oh, cool. Like I didn't know that. And he started recanting how he used to listen to Because He Loves Me, which is one of Graham's talks. He used to listen to it every single morning. He listened to it for years. And so Graham's been out there doing the work for 50 years. And so my, you know, yes, if I talk to an influencer and they don't want the content, but they want to promote, I'm not going to stop them. That's for sure.
yeah,
But if someone is not influential and they're just wanting to plop $10 and scratch off the lottery ticket, it probably ain't going to win. And so
yeah.
just use your discernment.
The content is so good.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Awesome, brother.
All right, thanks.
All right. Jackie.
Hey, hey.
Hey, what's up? We're matching today. Same colors.
We were last time. I mean,
What's happening?
what happened? Anyway, so I really haven't had a whole lot of objections. And what's really exciting to me is I started the 30-day challenge and I started it with something different. And then when this came up, it was just like God spoke to me. I mean, I felt like I was waiting for something anyway, like
Yeah.
something, and I believe this is what it was. So my thing is that I feel like a good amount of people say yes to, because I use your script, right? And they say yes, and then they're not downloading the app, they're not looking at it. And so I've done follow up. I mean, I've used things from you, and I will have on occasion, I think I've had two, and I've had like probably 60, 70 people say yes. Okay. And I think I've had like 5 people that have downloaded the app out of that. So I don't know if that's a good percentage or not. I am keeping all of this in prayer. So I'm not like sitting here like poor me or woe me or whatever.
Sure.
But my thing is that am I serving these people right? Am I missing a step or whatever? So, and I've invited them to, our 5-day challenge. I've invited them to, specific things, and I've done a lot of different things with them.
Yeah.
I will have some people come back and say, and this is what's really, really cool to me and how I feel really blessed is this is the first time ever. I mean, I'm reaching out to most everybody. And I've never done that in all these years.
Nice.
I've always
Wow.
had this pullback, And so I feel like my response is really good every day. I mean, I like to do my prospecting at night, and then in the morning my messenger is full. And it's all different things. I mean, I've had people say they're not Christian, they're, agnostic. Is that what it's called? I didn't even know.
And by the way, I wouldn't rule them out. I would just
Oh,
say,
no, I
hey, the
know.
principles he talks about will help you.
Right.
And it will greatly increase their chances that they do accept Christ. But yeah.
No, I just bless them. I mean, I tell them I
Yeah.
totally understand, I'm here if they ever want to look at it. I don't close the door.
Yeah.
I don't come back negatively at all. I just love them where they
Yeah.
are, because
Yeah.
that's what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's my thing is I'm wanting to know how I can pour into these people so that they're getting into the content and learning with me.
Yeah. So I would say three things come up for me. One is I don't think people realize how big of a problem we're solving with the Jalen orientation calls. So today is day one of the orientation calls, walking people through the app. And so, Jalen is one of the coordinators for Brilliant. She's also the voice in the 5 days of praying to God and things like that. And so this is going to solve a major problem of people not being able to download the app, not knowing where to go, which one should I do? What does this mean? And so anyone that's ever said yes, whether they download it or not, I would point to tonight's training, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. And Jalen this isn't a pitch. She's just going to sweetly walk people through the app and show them all the goodness, and people will want it. And so it's a very unique thing, and she's going to do that weekly. So every week I would be asking the question on Wednesday and Thursday of who should I invite to that? Who should I invite to that? Anyone that just joined, definitely. Anyone that told me they were interested, definitely. Like I would try to just like we're doing that work, put us to work, use the system. And so that would be number one. Number two, once checks start getting to $10,000, $20,000 a month, we definitely are bringing in a compliance person to just watch income claims, because I know there'll be some that go and show their check and stuff. Can't do that stuff. right? But with us doing between the gatherings, between the Jalen, talks, between my daily sharing of the content, and my weekly, discovery calls, use any of that content you want. You can take the entire file, use it, post it on your YouTube. You can take slices of it, make reels of it, of any of these things. Like use that. You can take any quote from Graham, turn it into Canva or whatever. And so like be using that. And then number three is, you sharing your own experiences, what you're getting from the content, your experiences. These things are really going to help you. And and we're going to continue. Like, I mean, Glenn is, I mean, he's just a genius. We're talking about how we're going to gamify the app, how people earn badges and all kinds of stuff. That's where it just gets nuts, and so use what we're doing. Don't think, should I be doing more? You should be pointing more. Point people to the Jalen thing, point people to, discovery calls, gatherings, point people to the replay of the gathering. Like that was really cool. I couldn't get on. I was having Wi-Fi issues, but I went back and watched it. It was excellent to see Graham live. He's amazing. And people just, it's not enough Graham for you to be satisfied. Like you want more. And that was my experience. My first time I ever watched anything from Graham. I'm like, I want more of this. And you have a way to do that. So does that make sense?
It does. So just to clarify,
Yeah.
is there too much follow-up that you can do with a person?
So it's only too much follow-up when you're relying on them for an update. Okay. So
Yeah.
if you're like, hey, has anything changed? Hey, would you like to move forward now? Hey, are you interested in, like, it's when you're looking, that's when follow-up becomes annoying. But there's no amount of follow-up you can do if you're providing the update.
Okay.
Hey, by the way, I don't know if you're still wanting to move forward or not, but tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, we got this amazing thing. You can attend. It's gonna be cool. Like there is no amount of that that's too much. And they'll tell you, hey, take me off your list. Okay, cool, bless you. Fine.
Right.
But
And I have had a couple of people do that, but they haven't been like, they're still very warm about it. So I feel
yeah.
like that
And they're
still
probably watching you. They're probably
Yeah.
watching you to see, let's see if she sticks with this.
Mhm.
I had a lot of that, in the, long ago. People didn't know my discipline. They're like, man, I've watched you every day for 6 months. Like you're clearly sticking with this thing.
Ray, I just had a quick
Like,
question. So
yeah,
I have recently reconnected with a pastor from a church down in Naples.
yeah.
He actually reached out to me. We've just kind of been conversing back and forth. He helped me in the past with some stuff. I haven't brought this up to him yet, but I've been nudged to do so. If they show interest, should I just put him in direct contact with you, or should I try and get more involved with trying to explain it to him? I know you were kind of doing the stuff with pastors and churches.
So one, even I don't want to be the one explaining it live. I want to use a tool. And so I may
Okay.
use my own tool, right? I may use my own video, but I don't want to be the explainer. And so
Okay.
I will tell you, I did create, because we're talking to a lot of pastors right now.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see. Okay. So I did a video called How We Are Working with Churches, and I purposely kept it 3 or 4 minutes. And so I would first send him that video and say, if you
Okay.
want more information, I can send it to you. But like, when people are asking me to get on with someone, like a three-way call or something like that, I'm just like, hey, have them watch the video first, and
Mm-hmm.
then we can get on, right?
Okay.
Because you just don't want to be in the explaining game. Um, does that make sense? And so
Yeah,
I would at
absolutely.
least have him do that. And if he likes what he hears, maybe send him the 12-minute comp plan video. And then after that, I'll run the ball, from there.
Sounds good.
Just connect us on a three-way text or something. And so that's what I would do.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
Cool. Lynn.
Okay, my quick question is app related. I, back in April, was receiving notifications that I signed up a couple of people that were on the app after their 7-day challenge, and they no longer, or 5-day trial, and they no longer wanted to keep going forward. But I don't know who these people are. I never heard their names before, so I'm curious.
So that
Is
that
some of
was a
the
mass mistake, actually.
okay?
And so
Okay,
there was a period of time where they were working on notifications, which we still, like I told Glenn, you can't over notify us. I want to be notified for every 5-day trial. I want to be notified for everyone that moves forward. I want to be notified. I want to be notified literally all the time.
okay,
And so they're still working on that. But there were
okay.
two people that unfortunately went to the entire ambassador base. And I don't know whose they actually were. We could probably track that down, but I would, especially if you didn't know them, I would ignore that.
Right.
Well, one of the
But
girls' names were Rachel because I got it too.
Yeah, everyone
yeah,
did. Every ambassador
but
did.
we're still not getting the notification, and that's coming, correct?
Correct.
Okay,
Correct.
thank you.
Yeah, it's more
Those are my
complicated than we
questions.
thought.
Mhm.
Because we want to have the 5-day trial in your back office. We were actually holding it. So I see the 5-day trial stats, if you will, because there's basically a sandbox over here before they become a paying member and go to your back office. But we want the 5-day trials to be in your back office so that you know. And so that's a little more complicated than we thought, but it'll get worked out.
Okay. Thanks for your
So
time.
cool. Awesome.
Top of the hour.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, you guys are rocking and rolling. I mean, already in your 5th generation here, Kim. That's really amazing. That's incredible. And we're just getting started. This is going to be awesome. Like, I love this phase. Remember this phase because there will be a time when everyone's coming in because of momentum. This is more who's in because of faith, really, right? When this thing's in momentum, everyone's joining. I'm just letting you know, like literally everyone is going to join. And but at that point, it's not really faith. It's just jumping into momentum. So like right now, I'm just honored that you guys had the faith and you're running with us, and it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. So appreciate you guys. God bless. Hope this helps.
God bless. Thank you so
See you.
much. See you guys later. We'll see you.
God bless. Thank you, Kim. Thanks, Ray.
Thank you. Thanks for carving out some time to be
Thanks,
here, you
Jen.
guys. Continue to send me any questions you have, and we'll keep doing this as a team so that we can stretch and grow together. And just know, I am literally praying for you, each and every one of you, every single day, that we're molded, that our hearts are softened where they need to be, that we are continue to be guided and led by the Holy Spirit, and that you reach the exact right people who are praying, who are sad, who are broken, who are hurt, who have no idea what's coming and how it's coming. And you guys are the kingdom army, and I pray for you every day. So have an amazing day, and thank you for being here. Bye,
Pray
friends.
for you too, Kim.
Thank you, Lynn. I need them all. Bye for now.